fast. Good catch. All across the globe, people have been using items and icons to represent who they are and what their identity is. Now, what makes me qualified to discuss something like that? Very simply put, everybody has their own personal story, and this one just happens to be mine. My parents may argue that they are more qualified to talk about me than me, but that's a story for another time. I have in this bag here 3 items that represent who I am and how I came to be who I am today. Those 3 items are a pencil, a football, and of course no Christian leaves home without it, the Holy Bible. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the pencil. The pencil represents my love for writing. Ever since I was a child, I was always an avid reader, and I really wanted to go ahead and take the next step in that whole process and become a writer for myself. And so as a young child, I started The Adventures of Super Lewis. I was a superhero in my own series, and I decided that one day I would be a writer in my own professional life. So when I first got started, I thought to myself, well, I'll just write another story, just like I have been doing all this time. But I quickly realized that making your own characters that other people would be interested in and not just myself, was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. And so I decided that if I was going to continue being a writer, I needed to switch to nonfiction. I could do news, I could do columns, and I wouldn't need to worry about whether the characters were interested or not, because depending on the audience I was writing for, the characters would always be interesting because it's nonfiction. And so you can see why, as a writer, the pencil is a big part of who I am. So now that we've gone through that, let's go ahead and switch to the football. I've always been a big fan of football. My father was the one who introduced me to football, and it was through him that I decided that the Miami Dolphins would be my personal favorite team. Stories of Dan Marino in his prime, beating everybody who went against him. It was a wonderful thing, and I really enjoy the Dolphins to this day, and that's why I decided to start writing about them in particular. I started writing for a fan blog, giving news, giving opinions, giving my ideas on what the team should be doing on a daily basis. And it's through that I got my first feedback and first experience as what it would mean to be a journalist, because I was able to get feedback on it, whatever story I wrote. It was no longer just whether it was a good story or not. Now people have judged your opinions, judged your ideas, and they would often tell you, you're an idiot, because that's what happens on the internet. And so I realized that I needed to learn more about football, and so that led me to learning more about what happens on the field, off the field, behind the scenes, inside the organizations themselves, and that is what led me to really love football even more now today. And so eventually I reached past the fan blog and started writing for a website known as finmaniacs.com, which today I now own. And I was able to start interviewing players, start interviewing coaches, front office executives, cover community events, really get the idea of what it meant to be a journalist, know what's acceptable and what isn't on social media. Newsflash, a lot of it is not. But that's social media for you. And so I realized that to be a journalist, you have to know about what you're talking about and also be a good writer. And so that's the football. So now we've gotten through the first 2, but we can't get done before we talk about this. This is the most important thing of all, the Holy Bible, my relationship with God, the cross, and all of that. I was first introduced to God by my grandmother. She's the one who first led me to Christ, and she is currently my mentor in all things spiritual today. I went through a program known as AWANA, which stands for Approved Workmen Are Not Ashamed, and it taught me about working for God and learning about how to use your platform properly. And that's what inspired me to start my long-term goal, what I really want to do in the long-term future, which is start the Christian Sports Network, because there is no such outlet out there in sports for Christians, because everything is secular, and I wanted to be the one to change that very idea. I'm hoping that I have made it very clear to you just through that my relationship with Jesus is not superfluous, it's not fake, it is something that I'm very passionate about, and I want to give the opportunity for people to use sports as a way to reach others for the kingdom of God. And so with all that said and done, you now know the 3 most important aspects of who I am. I've always been a big fan of writing, I've always been a big fan of football, and by combining them into sports journalism, I have gotten the best of both worlds. Now when you add in my relationship with Jesus to cap off my overall identity, I've learned what it means to be a Christian in a world that does not appreciate Christianity, that doesn't want Christianity, and I have learned that in order to reach people now, you have to search for new outlets, which happens to be sports, and my hope for the Christian Sports Network. God willing, I will be able to usher in a new era of sports reporting and writing, and I will be able to have others follow in my footsteps as we reach a whole new audience to bring them to the kingdom of God, because as a Christian, that is the overall mission in